Constantly use languages. How to disengage. Nothing to do with engaging or disengaging. This sentence. Use it constantly. How to uninvolved. Nothing is within involvement or non-involvement. Use this sentence. The non-involvement purifying itself. Disengaging, purifying itself. Sentences purifying themselves. Okay? Your name is quickness. Purely having merit, goodness, it will be circling in itself. So you need to use sentences, recall them constantly. How to let go, that which has nothing to do with letting go or not letting go. That is true letting go. How to uninvolve, nothing is within involvement or non-involvement. That is true non-involvement. Yes, purifying every sentences, then it will turn into essence, without traces, without traces, without traces, by itself, purifying without traces by itself through the emptiness. Use it constantly. Use sentences with its purification, self-purification in sentences themselves. Use them constantly. Otherwise, there is just the mighty force with oneself in it, without purification. Brightening with oneself in it. That is no clearing itself. There is overlaying in the clear mind, in the scattering, in the brightening. There is no purification in the overlaying. Therefore, we need a conclusion. Terminologies purifying themselves. Expansiveness as well. That which has nothing to do with engaging or disengaging. Recall these sentences. Then it will turn into purifying the extensiveness, purifying through the emptiness, purification in the brightness. Use the conclusion at the same time. Nothing is within involvement or non-involvement. Otherwise, something is going out there. What is there that is overlaying in that which is going out there? There is no purification in the overlaying. We need to use terminologies and conclusions that purify themselves. Nothing is within involvement or non-involvement. Recall it. These are self-purification in the terminologies, in the conclusion, in the sentences. Then they will purify the terminologies themselves, the conclusion themselves. Then the purification will be limitless. Projection must purify themselves. Recall sentences. Then they will purify the projection themselves at the same time. To be stuck with just the brightness, it's narrow. To be stuck with just narrow extensiveness is also narrowness in the extensiveness. For example, the state of ordinariness, there is an overlaying of oneself in it. Don't think that there is nothing in it. There is the state of ordinariness that is there. Let's conclude the conclusion itself constantly. Use the conclusion simultaneously with the proceeding, purifying the proceeding, because it's still without traces. It's pushing out, pushing out. Use the conclusion terminologies to purify at the same time. The ordinariness, there is still something in it unknowingly. Nothing is within engaging or disengaging. It will be beyond ordinariness. This is like significance within ordinariness, within indifference and stillness. What is there that is in stillness, in the indifference, in the ordinariness? What is there that is proceeding? What is there within awakening or brightening? This is the desire and elusive attachment that is projecting. We need to use terminologies that purify themselves constantly, simultaneously, that which has nothing to do with engaging or disengaging simultaneously. Therefore, the great compassion will be purified by itself simultaneously. What is there that is proceeding in the blessing is the projection itself, the forming up itself in the blessing. Therefore, terminologies need to be used so that there is the purification in the projection of the blessing. What is there that is unwinding? There is oneself that is pushing and proceeding in it. We have to purify this one, the proceeding, the pushing. Great compassion, purifying itself. Blessing, purifying itself. Nothing within engaging or disengaging. Nothing within involvement or non-involvement. This is the blessing that purifying itself. This is how to bless samsara. Otherwise, blessing back and forth until exhausting, because the blessing itself is not purifying itself. There is exhaustion in it. Because the projection is a kind of karma, there is also Vedana frequencies in it. So blessing that purifying itself, there is no one that is taking on the result. Ordinariness also, how one knows that there is a delusion. It is deluded to ordinariness. Nothing is within involvement or non-involvement. This will be beyond ordinariness states of mind. Otherwise, it's drowning in the ordinariness even a tiny bit. This is neutrality, normality, but it is deluded delusion within normality, ordinariness. The same as purity. Like there is something in the purity, something in the originality. We have to purify all this. Even originality has nothing in itself, that which has nothing to do with being original or not. Nothing to do with the origin or not origin. Purify the projection right away. Otherwise, there is something stuck in the projection. The mighty force that is projecting. Awakening is the projection in itself. The brightening is also the projection. We have to purify also the projection itself, that which has nothing to do with grasping or not grasping. Therefore, there is no grasping for the brightness or not brightness, ordinariness or not ordinariness. Purifying the overlaying. Let's conclude for the blessing. That means that blessing purifying itself simultaneously. Terminologies that purify themselves, you have to recall it constantly. Because it is the essence in itself, it's also founded by the essence itself too. Whenever the conclusion purifies itself, it will unwind from such state. Unwinding from that moment further, from that moment further, from that mighty force that is there further, not just only there, any symptoms, no limits, not being stuck with just any state. We have to conclude with the essence of natural extinction, Nibbana, in the conclusion, that it has nothing to do with grasping or not grasping. Nothing is within involvement or non-involvement. We have to use the conclusion that has the essence of Nibbana, all of it. Therefore, it will purify all the projection in all forms of it. Just like the form up of the great compassion for the blessing, it is founded by Nibbana, by the enlightenment, by the emptiness at all time. Therefore, in order to have the foundation of Nibbana, we have to use the terminologies of Nibbana constantly. Don't be stuck there, being stuck in any state. Ordinariness is also stuck in the state of ordinariness. There is no need to be too much ritual. Bowing down, respect, and that's it. Don't be much with rituals because it is karma. But it is the action of suffering. Too many bow down is like practicing the suffering action. It is fabrication of behaviors. It's enough. If they scold a lot to the graces, they have to bow down a lot as well. If they are too rude and vulgar so much before, then they have to be so humble and respect to the graces more. Actually, there is no need for all these kind of behaviors, humility or vulgarity. It is the destiny of karma totally. If you have been vulgar, you have to be humble to pay back of your vulgar behaviors in the past. All of this is destined by karma totally. Has nothing to do with all these kind of things. It's just karmic destinies. Also, all about recitation, more or less. If they have gossiping or scolding to the graces, they have to always recite. It is not the essence at all. It is actually the action of suffering, verbal karma. Karma that doesn't purify itself, always holding on to itself, on and on. Therefore, that which has nothing to do with engaging or disengaging needs to be recalled often. It will unwind for all verbal and mental karma. That which has nothing to do with involvement or non-involvement, recall it often, so that it will purify verbal karma and mental karma. That which has nothing to do with engaging or disengaging for everything simultaneously, all the same. Then it will be the conclusion of liberation, Nibbana, and natural extinction for samsara. Until it is the essence, total essence. Nothing is within the involvement or non-involvement in everything. Using the terminologies are the great compassion, This is the great compassion. In the samsara, we communicate through terminologies of opinions, through verbal, through mental. Therefore, we need to use terminologies that purify themselves in order for samsara to hear.